So we have an update with the story of Ajiki Owens. Now, you remember that's the sister that was killed by a white supremacist Karen that was harassing them, calling them the N-word for years. For this sister actually had to go over there because of an incident that happened with her child, and she shot her through the door. Now, they said after learning that the white supremacist Karen who shot Ajiki Owens is the mother of 4 in Florida, she will not be charged with murder. It said Reverend Al Sharpton is calling for the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate Ajiki Owens' shooting death as a federal hate crime. And it's exactly what that is. And that's a slam dunk federal hate crime because this woman did everything that you need to do to be getting that type of charge. Now, they say although the evidence wasn't sufficient enough to charge Susan Lawrence, it said with murder, it said a state prosecutor did file a felony manslaughter charge against a 58-year-old woman, a move that deeply disappointed Owens' family and prompted Sharpton's call for the DOJ to intervene. Now, Ajiki Owens, she was only 35 years old. It said she was shot and killed earlier this month in Ocala, Florida. It said after confronting her neighbor Lawrence for throwing a roller skate at one of her kids and calling her children racial slurs as they were playing in a field beside her apartment. They say the result of that confrontation ended with Owens' death after Lawrence shot her through the door of her own apartment instead of answering Owens when she came to meet her. And say Owens' 10-year-old son was standing right beside her when she was shot. My Lord, so she could have shot the baby? And she didn't get an attempted murder charge either because the child was standing there. Boy, I'll tell you that you have a white supremacist enclave in Florida. For real, for real. You know, just reading this and it's like manslaughter. Like, are you serious? Manslaughter is like, oh, you just caused the death of somebody. This woman knew what she was doing. They say the family has demanded Lawrence be charged with second-degree murder, said at least since her arrest, but Florida State Attorney William Gladson only brought forth, it said, a first-degree manslaughter charge. Now, it said Gladson indicated that his reasoning for not upgrading the charge had to do with the lack of evidence to sufficiently demonstrate that Lawrence had a depraved mind. When you call someone the N-word, you have a depraved mind. She did that right before the commission of this crime. But you know, when you are white in this country, you get second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances. But when you're black, you get 0 chances. Now, they say no matter, they said how reckless or impulsive, they say her actions were, they said proof of a depraved mind is a key factor in making a case for murder. So how do you make all them cases for black people? So now you're saying, well, I don't know if her mind was depraved at the time. And if her mind wasn't depraved at the time, then there's no way for me to prove that. But yet, you charge black people with this all the time. And you have no way to prove their depraved mind either. But according to y'all, since they black, their mind already depraved, right? So you can automatically throw a charge on them. But for white people, well, you know, I have to prove this. Now, they say depraved mind requires evidence of hatred, spite, ill will, or evil intent toward the victim at the time. Are you serious? He said, given the facts in this case, aiming a firearm at the door and pulling the trigger is legally insufficient to prove a depraved mind. According to your own words, she said the N-word, and she's been doing this for multiple years. This isn't nothing new for this savage. Now, they say as deplorable as the defendant's actions were in this case, there is insufficient evidence to prove this specific and required element of second-degree murders. And Lawrence, as he also faces 1 count of assault. If she's convicted, she faces up to 30 years in prison. It said lawyers of the family believe there is enough proof to back a second-degree murder charge, but are still advocating for total accountability in the case. Say it took Marion County deputies nearly a week to arrest Lawrence. And the only reason she got arrested is because the grassroots, especially on social media, exposed who she was, number one. Number two, they put pressure on them to do something. See, social media is definitely great to do that. Because prior to social media, this woman would have got away with it. Now, she initially claimed she acted in self-defense, but police said the shooting was the result of several clashes between both neighbors that happened over a 2-year period. Lawrence told investigators she never intended to hit Owens when she fired the gun. They say Owens leaves behind 4 children, ages 12, 9, 7, and 3. They said Lawrence's next court date hearing is scheduled for July 11th. She's still being held at the Marion County Jail after the judge filed a $154,000 bond for her release pending trial. Ladies and gentlemen, that case in itself definitely should be federal hate crime. Easy, 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 due to her tirade and calling black. See, I told y'all, when these white supremacists are calling you the N-word, you got to view that as a threat to your life. You got to view it as such. And one thing that we don't do, and we know to do, you don't just go run up on white folks' door like that. You really don't. Because we know what they'll do, and we know what they're capable of because they're cowards. Shooting somebody through a door, she couldn't have got through your door. Now, if she had kicked your door in and tried to break in and you shot her, well, hey, that's different at that point. But she did knocked on your door. Why didn't you call the police? You call them for everything else. Why you didn't call them for that? No, you wanted to do that. And that female belongs in jail for the rest of her life. Yeah, okay, even if she get 30 years, she needs 60 years. She needs to die in jail. But let me know what y'all think about, this updating this story. This is ridiculous. I mean, you shoot somebody through a door and all you get is a manslaughter charge? Like, come on.